Hi everyone, it's Rabbi Dr. Jack Cohen, dating coach and shadchan and lecturer on dating and shalom bayis. We're in the middle of a beautiful series this past few months where I've been inviting in some very, very important personalities and people that are influencers in our wonderful Yiddish community to come and speak with us and tell us about their lives and tell us about their interests and tell us about their koiches and how you're using koiches to help Klal Yisrael. So I asked one of my assistants to go out there and find someone who is really doing some great work for the community. And Chai came back with a wonderful human being. Actually, he's setting up his camera right now, so I beg your patience. But Eli Weber is here to join us tonight. Eli is an influencer. Eli is a man who speaks and lives positivity. We're going to basically have the privilege to interview him today, speak to him a little bit, tell us what he's up to, tell us his background, and have fun with this, as we always try to. And we'll Bezas Hashem. In the process, we'll all grow. And we'll all become better people, and we'll learn something from each other. So, Eli's here. Where'd you come from, Eli?
I came from Tom's River.
Ooh, that's where I go in the summer.
I'm going to be on in the summer.
Great place. Eli, Baruch Hashem, made the journey from Tom's River, which is a really wonderful place. What we call a suburb of Lakewood today. Many wonderful kehillas forming there. I had the privilege to be there last 7 summers.
Yeah.
And exactly. What are you davening over there?
There's Rabbi Rosen's shul, which is great.
Right.
And I love it. Great people.
I like Rabbi. I haven't been privileged to go there.
He's from the organization 8 Time.
Oh, Shaul Rosen.
Yeah.
Right. So Shaul's a great guy. I've davened by Rabbi Rothberg, and I've taught for Rabbi Babad.
Really?
Oh, he's a Babad. He's a good friend. I've taught
for him. Yes. He's
an
amazing person.
So Eli, go ahead. Tell us about you. Tell us about what you're involved in. Give us your background, how you grew up, where you went to yeshivas, and lead us into how Eli became Eli.
Right. Okay. Great. So first of all, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's absolutely
Thanks for
mine.
having me. I am recording this also for my podcast, Positivity.
Beautiful.
So we'll see how it will work out. But first, we have a recording, so it's nice. My story is very simple, I would say. Grew up in regular Chayder Square in Borough Park.
Beautiful.
And then just went yeshiva in Square, yeshiva Ketana, yeshiva Gedol. I learned actually in New Square, in Spring Valley. Then I ended up going to Yerushalayim and learning in yeshiva over there for 2 years. So that
you should
really
know
nice.
that there was a Syrian guy that comes to me for help in dating. And he was almost ready to get engaged a month ago. But he has these headaches that don't go away. He's learning in yeshiva Gedol in Deal.
Mm-hmm.
So one night he says, I'm done. I can't go into my forward unless I get some help. I don't know what happened. Hashem put an idea into my head. I used to love to go visit the square Rabbi. I said, Sunday night, it was pouring rain, February. I'm going to have a spot for you. We're going to go. So we traveled a couple of hours up there. We met with him. He was so gracious to us and so nice to us. Gave him chizuk and told him exactly what to do, and he's doing extremely well now.
How did he get rid of the headache?
He sent him to a special headache specialist in Manhattan. Because I knew, years ago, that the Square Rebbe is very connected to a lot of big doctors. Yeah, he's very connected.
Right.
So he sent him to a special headache specialist, and he doesn't call me anymore. In English, they say no news is good news.
Right.
So you went to Eretz Yisrael to learn there?
Yeah. And then I just graduated. Like most of the class got engaged. I was around 21, so 5 years ago. I'm 26 now. Mm-hmm. And then I just went to take a job like everybody else. I worked in construction. It was the highest paying job.
What did your father and mother do? And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. My father was doing, has an electrical company.
Beautiful.
And my mother has her own entrepreneurial journey, creative ideas.
Still live in Brooklyn?
So we lived in Brooklyn until 5 years ago. Yeah. And then moved to Lakewood, and then 2 years ago, we moved to Tom's River, from Lakewood to Tom's River.
How old are you today, Ali?
26.
Married? Single?
So I'm single, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
On the journey, yeah.
Okay, so you'll have to hear a little bit about that.
Right.
So let's go back to you. So you finished yeshiva, you graduate.
I went to work a job for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then I said, this is stupid. I'm working for somebody else. It doesn't make sense. So I said, let me open a business, something that I really enjoy. Let me do my passion, my hobby, my goal, in life. So I was doing, back then I was doing the social media for Michal Schnitzler, you know, the wedding singer. So yeah.
Sure. He was actually this summer. We did a singles event in upstate in Hudson Valley.
Mm-hmm.
He sang for us.
Oh, really? Wow.
He's big. He was. I remember him being huge in the 1990s.
Yeah.
And then he became. It looks like he frumed out some bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where.
So you doing his social media?
I was doing his social. I was his manager and a very close friend.
Okay.
And I was doing his social media. So when I was needing to open a business, I said, you know what, this was something that I was doing as a hobby, but how about I open it as a business and approach companies and tell them, I'll post on your Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. And so that's where I started like my own entrepreneurial journey, which also made me go onto social media a lot more because I was going to show people how to be like that role model. Like, look, I have this big following. So now if you want your company to have that big following, you can hire my company, Weber Media, and we'll do the same. So it's fast forward 2 years, and we now have 20 clients and have 5 or 6 employees, and we're doing it for the biggest companies out there, like Klein's Naturals and Klein's Ice Cream, the companies that everybody knows. So I'm just really grateful for that I'm an entrepreneur now. And part of that was also that I was creating these videos and they just started going viral one after another, which just showed, just for the fact that somebody is willing to speak is why it went viral. Like I have podcasts and I'm very vulnerable. Our last podcast was actually with Rabbi Mamas Friedman, which I know you like. Yeah, you quote him a lot in your speeches. And so I actually told him on the podcast that I'm going on a date after the podcast, which was true. So he gave me like the best dating advice, which was, you know, like, don't worry what she thinks about you. Make sure that she is good for you. Make sure that you like her. Make sure that, you know, and that helped me really a lot because I did go out and I felt like I did connect with it. You know, it was a very nice girl, but I did feel that thing like, okay, well, she's nice. I would go on a road trip with her, but I don't think that there's any value that's added to my life.
You didn't see her as wife material?
Correct. I didn't see her. I saw her as wife material. I didn't see her as my wife material.
Right.
So
And you sensed that right away in one date?
So,
because I push people.
Right. So one date wouldn't.
If you have a neutral date, go one more. A second.
So that's a good question. One date wouldn't have been enough. Yeah. And I'm no expert. Let me just set the record straight. I'm young. I'm 26.
Sure.
But some tell me I have an old soul. But I'm very flattered by it. But I don't know everything, and I can see myself. I can see how my opinions change. So I understand that I'm growing. I agree one date is not really enough, but that's why I kind of tried to drag it along to almost 3 hours and just go to different settings and go buy food and go see if there's anything that will change, will change the way I feel. But I also feel like it's my personality to be able to say on a first date yes or no. I'm not the kind of person that will drag it out 5 dates and then say no. I do have that intuition that...
Was it physical attraction or was it some opinions that she had that didn't stem with yours?
Right, so it was both. So it was, it was 2 things, not both. It was 2 things. It was physical attraction, while she was very cute, I did not feel necessarily attracted to her. And number 2, the second part was that I didn't feel like she would add anything to my life. And I've been out with girls that I felt that feeling. So it didn't work out necessarily, but whatever. Like
they brought something to the table.
Exactly. Like there was interest over there. And with this girl, I didn't necessarily feel that. So I was confident with my decision of not going out again. So, but I'm just saying the reason why my story is a story is because I'm probably one of the only Hasidic people, or even Jewish people, because there aren't many, that is willing to come out and just share their story. Tell people about their own personal struggles or journey or mental health or dating process, or I can tell people openly. I've written on LinkedIn stories where I say that I just don't feel well, or I don't feel it, or I'm feeling in a bad mood, good mood, dark mood, and these have millions of views, millions of people see it. So it kind of like goes viral that, wow, this guy is doing stuff. And then, so recently, the last 6 months, I started my own podcast, and it right away caught up very quickly. Like, it's performing, I think, a lot better than any other podcast certainly in the Jewish community, because also for the same concept, because it's very vulnerable conversations. And the people watch the podcast for the host, not for the guest. That's the big difference, because people can have podcasts but bring up guests, and the guests are very interesting. But if the host is not doing a good job, then they don't connect. If the host is not being vulnerable, if the host is not somebody that has proper knowledge or understanding, then the entire podcast is not interesting.
Right.
So that's actually what you do. You're an interesting person. You bring up guests, and your audience loves it. It gets a lot of views. So it's that kind of. I feel like the podcasts that we have in our community, and I love all of them, and I know all of them. But for them, it's two things. Number one, they're not sharing about themselves. They're just asking questions. So it's an interview. It's not a conversation. And number two, it's very political or agenda driven. So they'll bring up a politician, or they'll bring up a Hasidus or a Moisdus or something that has something, or just for the views, they'll bring up somebody that's going to get a lot of views. So I love the mission with the podcast because I love helping people. So it's very, very important to me. And I understand when I talk, when I speak, and even this podcast right now that we're recording, I'll be posting it probably. And I know that thousands, if not tens of thousands of people will listen to this right now. And I can feel the energy of every person listening. I understand that there is a kid or a little boy or a little girl at the age of 15 or 16 that has no idea what they want to do with their life, but they look up to me and they see their hero in me. They're like, wow, look, he did it. He has a company and employees. And
so Eli, you can't disappoint them now.
I very much try. Yeah, it is, and I take it on.
Yeah.
I also know that there is, I know that there's the older people that listen to me. They love just seeing young energy, young talent. They feel like they contribute.
Do you think that
success.
People are enamored by you because they're I don't want to use the word shocked, but they're so taken by your ability to freely share that?
Yeah.
Where most people would be more like holding back.
Right. Well, that's a great question. I don't think that that's what people love, because this is just my gift.
Right.
Like, my gift is to share, to speak, to help people. I'm okay doing it.
He's saying what I wish I could say, or I wish I could be strong enough to do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
They see their own inner hero in me. When they watch me, they're like, hold on, he did his dream. I also have a dream. I also have a passion to bake sourdough and sell it to my block, to make wigs and hair, or be a dresser, or be a personal shopper, or create my own business or storefront, or like so many ideas that I have. He did it, so I also want to do it. And I don't need anybody to idolize me. I openly say I'm not perfect. There's nothing to look up at. There's no results. Again, I love myself, but there's no results that should make you say, wow, he is so awesome. Besides the fact that if you become awesome, then you can say, wow, I'm awesome because you became awesome because of me. So that's really why I feel people connect, and I can't see my life any way different. I mean, this is
you
really
see Eli being Eli.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and I love it. And sometimes I do watch myself as the outsider, because this is a show. I openly say, this is a show. This is not, over here I'm talking, everything is good. I go outside to my car and I'll cry if I feel alone, or I feel lonely, or I feel like something's bothering me. And some days are good, some days are better, some days are worse. I mean, that's part of life, and I try to share that as well. So I'll say.
Do you have people reaching out to you?
Daily, Baruch Hashem. That's something that.
What are you hearing from them? What are you hearing from Klal Yisrael? What are you hearing from the public?
That's a great question, because I love addressing in my videos. I love talking. Direct to Klal Yisrael. I love using that term Klal Yisrael, because we're all a Klal, and whatever I say, even if somebody's not listening, they're going to repeat what I said by the Shabbos meal. So it's like it's very easy, because we're so small. That's why we're so big, right? So, if you're named Moskowitz, you automatically, I just named 100 people that are listening, right? And the other 500 know somebody with the name, or the other 5,000 actually would know somebody with the name Moskowitz. So that's how small we are, So, Klal Yisrael, there first of all, let's start with the positive. There's tremendous joy and love and chesed, tremendous acceptance. That's literally, if we have to name the year 2023 or 2024, the one word would be acceptance. The acceptance that we have is just unbelievable.
Hashem is an interesting way to make that happen. Unfortunately, sometimes through,
Yeah.
and for
October 7th kind of style.
very
Yeah.
good for us.
Yeah, there's always energies in the world that's affecting that is affecting everybody, of course. So the acceptance is major. I mean, you have nobody looking. I just went to the mall because I had like a window of 2 hours.
Sure.
So I went shopping here in the Kings County. It's called, what's it called? The Kings
Here?
Plaza.
King's Plaza.
And every Yid that I met, I just said hi, and they said hi to me, or
That's
they said hi to
beautiful.
me. Yeah, like the Agdas and Shulam is just tremendous.
Excellent.
On the flip side of that, Klal Yisrael, because we love the nice cars and the fish boards and the meat boards, we want a good and better quality of life. So there's many singles out there that really want to be in a relationship, and all it requires is, of course, a change within themselves, but it also requires for one another to reach out. I read a shidduch yesterday. I know a guy, I know a girl, and I read the shidduch, and I'm going to follow up with them. Hopefully they go out. I already did 3 shidduchim, and I already read another 3 or 4 shidduchim where people went out. And I read I've asked resumes from about 50 to 100 people. That alone is a chesed to ask. So I'm saying people need that kind of thing. Asking what Klal Yisrael is feeling right now, people need that. We're very much alone. There's probably 20 or 30% of people that are single.
It's
right?
hard.
That's
very high. I deal with it regularly, the whole day.
Right. So
not simple.
Exactly. That's your profession.
Yeah.
And all that they want is a good relationship. I can't start telling you to how many singles I've spoken, and especially the girls, because the men have one problem, which is that they have no idea what marriage is about. The girls have a different problem, that their hearts get stolen and they go into a relationship and they give everything to their husband. And when I say everything, I mean everything. But they still can't appreciate it because they feel so worthless that they don't understand what just happened. Their parents never loved them, and they have a wife now that's giving them everything, but they have an issue accepting it. So one of the journeys that I'm on is to be able to give myself what I need in terms of the kind of love that I need, the space, the time, healing, the kind of energy I need to be in, so that when somebody else gets it.
Do you think there was anything lacking in your upbringing? Do you feel like there was some emotional vacuum for you? And now you're reclaiming things?
Right.
That you're taking Ellie and
Right.
building him up with bigger muscles emotionally?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm just going to close the 2 tabs that I opened. Number one, so Klal Yisrael is definitely
Sorry about that.
searching. No, it's okay. Klal Yisrael is definitely searching and looking for stuff. That's number one. The second thing that I want to finish is that yes, that people, the marriage, I actually released a podcast on this, and it got like 1,000 views, and to
Beautiful.
me 1,000 views is a lot.
That
I
is.
mean, it's little, but for a solo podcast, it's really a lot that 1,000 people listen to this. And the name of the podcast was we're not in a shadichin crisis, we're in a self-awareness crisis.
Explain.
So that means that there is a push out there that there's a shadichin crisis, right?
Right.
And
Keep hearing about it day and night.
Exactly. What's a shadichin crisis? That what do you mean? We have boys, we have girls, they don't have shadichin. Your shidduch is your neighbor. I mean, there's so much shadichin out there. There's thousands of possibilities. Don't say there's a shadichin crisis. It's like saying there's a money crisis. Like, is there really a money crisis? Like, go pick up flowers in your garden and sell them at the corner. You will find somebody to buy it for $5-10, and with that $10, you'll be able to buy dinner. There's no money crisis. There's a money crisis when you have a lack of laziness or not knowing how to grab those flowers, right? The same thing over here. There's no shadichin crisis. Define shadichin crisis. Shadichin crisis is, what does a shadichin crisis mean? You don't know how to dial the phone number of a shadchan. You don't know how to call.
You know, I say this all the time. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I say the same thing. I totally agree with you. There's no shidduch crisis. There's an attitude crisis.
Right? Exactly.
That's how I see it. But you and I are saying the same thing.
Right. So a shadichin crisis is, there is no shadichin.
I'm tired of hearing that term. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I understand, because the people pushing the shadichin crisis are total victims. They either, so many of them have their own problem or whatever, so they'll push a shaddichim crisis. What do they want out of this? This is the same person now begging for money, right? So I have a money crisis. So since I have a money crisis, hello, can you help me and give me money? Same thing with shaddichim. There's a shaddichim crisis. Hello, now let me put the responsibility on everybody to help me with a shidduch. Why? Don't help me. I know exactly the shadchunim to call. I know exactly which friends to reach out. I know exactly where to go if I actually want to find a shidduch. I can go to a networking event. Again, this is a little bit more controversial because not everybody is going to ask out a girl. That's okay. There's all types of alternatives. If you're the most from kind of person, call a shot and get a b'show.
There you go.
Go on a b'show. I know there's a lot of bucharim that listen to this. They're 18, 19, 20. They're desperate for shidduch. Call a shadchan. Have you called a shadchan? The Satmar Rebbe said you should call a shadchan once a week. Have you done that? I guarantee you there's no bucha that's done it. And if somebody did it, then kol hakavod, then I congratulate you. Sorry that you have to wait. I'm going to validate.
I always tell people, I give you permission to bug me all the time. I need you to.
Right.
Because...
So you're also a shadchan, right?
Yes.
Besides being a shaddichim coach.
Sure,
Right.
sure. I tell them, listen, it's a demand and supply. I'll forget about you.
Right.
Because everyone wants help. So you're mishubah to help yourself.
Right.
Exactly like you say, Eli.
Thank you. I appreciate that I have a rabbi/doctor that agrees with me. What does rabbi understand? What does doctor like?
The doctor started as a foot surgeon.
This is you?
This is me years
I'm looking
ago.
at this handsome guy, and I'm like, who is this? Wow.
And that doctor was a Talmud of a Gadol Hador when he was 12 years old by the name of Victor Miller. That's him with me. Wow. See that? He was my Rebbe since I was 12 years old. I was born in Cairo, Egypt.
Wow.
My father's family came from Yerushalayim, Syria, Yerushalayim. My mother's family was Ashkenaz, from Odessa, Ukraine, running away from the communist revolution and went to Cairo.
Right. Can I tell you what I learned from Rabbi Victor? Something that I implement in my life every day.
So he taught me a lot, all that I know about dating.
Now everything makes sense.
Yeah.
By the way. He's such an inspiration. He taught me he was at the dentist, I think, when he was like 90 years old, and they told him your teeth are just perfect. How did you do it? You ever heard the story?
No.
And he said, every morning when I wake up, I just thank God. I thank Hashem for my perfect, beautiful teeth. So there's no way with that kind of energy that my teeth will be rotten or anything.
It's amazing.
So I kind of adopted that, and I was at the
He used to tell us to brush with salt water.
Yeah?
He was brilliant at everything.
Yeah. So I kind of adopted that, and I was recently at the dentist after not being for 2 years. I mean, I go for my yearly checkup, but it's been many years since I've had any dental problem, and I eat quite a lot. So so I
enjoy.
Thank you, Rabbi Victor. But it's just amazing, and I thank for my entire body, for everything, for my hair and my skin and my blood and everything that's amazing, and I've been extremely healthy, Baruch Hashem. Back to the emotional, you asked a question about how do I feel like they missed a need. Well, of course they missed a need. There is no question about it that many of us miss something when we grow up, and that results into somebody feeling not worthy of something. The biggest problem is not feeling worthy of love. And therefore when somebody loves them, they have an issue with that. By the way, the spark that we talk about in dating is not a spark. It's a familiarity. Did I say it right?
You're correct.
That we feel. So when you go out and you meet a girl and she's your mother, she's exactly like your mother, or you meet a boy and he's exactly like your father, there is a spark. Yay, let's get engaged. That's not the spark. It's very, very far from the spark. Because when you meet a guy or a girl that's really, really meant for you, you will not feel any spark. You will just feel at ease, at peace.
Comfortable.
Exactly.
Yourself.
Right.
Without having to be someone else.
Correct.
Or play that role.
So the spark that we're looking for in most incidents are wrong. And the audience can test this. See for yourself how your wife matches your mother, and see for yourself how your husband matches your father. It's insane. It's really crazy. By the way, on a subconscious level, guys, like it's not something you can prevent. Like of course you don't know. Everybody says, no, I'm not going to marry somebody like my mother, right? You kind of like, even for the joke, you say like, no, I don't want to do it. But subconsciously, your mind is searching because your first feminine energy was your mother, and for a girl, their first masculine energy was their father. So subconsciously, they're looking for that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. So if their father was emotionally not available, then they're looking for a guy that's not emotionally going to look for somebody that's not going to be home at night, something like that, like because their father was never home. And this is subconsciously, meaning like you just attracted that. You went out with 7 boys, but the 7th guy matched your father, so you just felt the spark. Yeah, this guy must be for me. Why? Because he's not home and available for me.
Interesting. There's a problem that I see today called TMC, too much choice.
Okay.
Especially it's motivated by having all our devices. Yes. So I tell people, you can open up your phone and within a matter of minutes look at hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge weapon of the Yetzer Hara to distract people today and bump them off their lane in terms of what they should be looking for. And I like to always share a story that they did a experiment in a supermarket called Whole Foods. They put down 2 tables of jellies. One had 6, one had 30. You get a coupon off if you buy, and you're allowed to taste anything for free. So the table that had 30 got 70% tasters versus the one that had 6 only had 20. When it came to buying, 50% bought at the 6 and 3% bought at the 30. Wow. People don't like too much choice. It confuses them.
I agree.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
So a person today needs to remain focused and have an idea, whether it's a top 5 list or top 7 list, whatever it is, what is it that I need to make me happy? And especially, don't lose yourself with wants versus needs. Wants being very gashmias, the gashmi. Needs, the kind of person that's going to bring out, like you said, the best in me and help me to be the best version of me. Because Rabbi always told us something that I think is excellent, and you demonstrate that. You're in this world to perform for Hashem. And who will help me perform my best? That's your soulmate.
Right.
The person that's going to bring out your talents and nurture them and support you.
Right. Thank you. I really I appreciate that. And what you said is really beautiful. And I absolutely agree. And what was coming to mind as I was listening to that, because I was thinking to myself, yes, I know that I have a lot of options and choices. But I always say, I don't even know if that's true, by the way. I just added, I don't know if the real Isaac Chochem is on a Makaras Makoimai, but something it says in the Mishnah, something is great about somebody that recognizes their place. And
it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Yes. And for me, that step is, I'm very aware and I very much know if I feel ready or not. And I'll admit to that kind of readiness. Or sometimes I'll date when I don't feel ready, but having a knowing of the fact that I'm not completely ready and saying, okay, let somebody come potentially into my life to add that, whatever it is that they can add and bring value so that I am more ready. So my point is that, yes, choice can be a problem, but a bigger problem is, like you said, if you don't know what you're choosing. Like, what are your choices? So clearly creating a list, a little bit of what you want will help. Writing down the kind of life that you want to have. Writing down the kind of qualities that one wants to see in their marriage. I know for me, I can list some of them just so that people get an understanding. Like, I know for myself that to be clean and organized is super important. And I feel like it's the little things that will determine the big picture of my marriage and relationship.
But indeed, there's a lot of MS to that.
Yeah, thank you. So I know, for example, that cleanness and organization is important because I can love you to the end of the world, but if our house is dirty all the time and I can't have my mental health straight because an unorganized space will make you not feel so good, then we have a problem. Of course, it can be worked on. So it's not like, maybe if I find everything in a special person and she has this one issue, then I would look away. I wouldn't try to change her exactly. But I'm saying, to me, this cleanness is a very important thing. To me, eating healthy is a very important thing. Of course, I can also eat unhealthy and some stuff like that, 80-20, try to keep it mostly. But if you're not somebody that eats healthy, then how am I supposed to protect you, support you, love you when this is such a deep core value? So some might say, wow, you're really getting into the details. You're so far away from the rachnius of what life is really about. But then it's really these little details that build up a perfect image of what I feel I deserve, so that I can say when I meet that special person that, okay, wow, you match those things on my list that I really want. And it's not a strict list, but it's just a kind of image and idea of this kind of person I do want, that kind of person. I always thought, like, when we talk about we all have a soulmate and we all have Abum Yom Koid Mitir Savlad Bas Ploni Ploni. I once thought that it's like literally there is a person in a specific place that's mine and we will meet. It's not exactly that way. Of course it is. But
just reviewed that
you have to
find
find that person.
Right.
You have to, and we know that we can have multiple soulmates in our life, multiples of you. So you how clear are you on what's important to you? My list is not did you hear me say anything in my list about her? No. What's important to me? I don't care what you can do whatever you want. But for me, these things are important. I have my image, my view, my perspective. What do you think about that? Do you think I have it figured out or not so much?
It seems like you have an idea. You've thought about it, that's for sure. You seem to have some degree of clarity as to what you want. You're not imposing that on someone else, And what I like about you is you're other-centered. Mm-hmm. And that's very important in marriage. You understand? I always tell people, Reb Chaim Kanievsky used to say something fantastic. Your greatness is defined by the Torah, by your ani. Wow. If your ani is you alone, you could be a billionaire, but you're very small from our perspective as a Ben Torah. As you care for more people, as your ani grows, from the Torah's perspective, you become greater, and greater, and greater.
Wow.
I've got to share an amazing story with you.
Yeah, please.
Because during Parshas Chayei, they run sometimes polls. They'll ask influencers in dating, what do you think is the greatest and most important needed to look for? So they asked me this past year, and I said, I didn't have to think. I said, avatra, someone was willing to give of themselves.
Yeah.
I was in Miami a month ago, and I took my wife on a little vacation, my favorite city. I used to live there 6 years. Anyway, I read a story which was absolutely amazing. They locked up, there was a guy, a landowner in Poland, they locked up a guy because he had an inn on his property, and he fell behind 300 rubles. Erev Yom Kippur, he takes him and his wife and his kids, and he throws them into a dungeon, and he tells the Jewish community, I don't care, he can rot and die in there. There was a Hasidic guy who really took it to heart, and he wanted to help to try to collect. So he went on collecting, all he made was 30 rubles. Really off. So he doesn't know what to do. Yom Kippur is tonight. So he finds out that there's a gambling hall in town where there's a lot of Yidden there. They're gambling, they're drinking vodka. They're not so from whatever. And they don't care about Yom Kippur tonight. They'll show up or they'll show up whenever they'll show up. So he walks in there and there's tables and people playing, lots of money. He sees money on the tables and vodka, and they're drinking and they're gambling. He walks up to one table and he tells them the story, heartbreaking story. A person and his wife and his children are stuck in this dungeon. It doesn't bother them. Then suddenly one of the guys says, you know what? Here's vodka that's 190 proof. Drink this and I'm going to give you 100 rubles. So 8-ounce cup. Yeah. He drinks it. And he's shaking back and forth, and he gets the 100 rubles. But he's still 100, close to 200 short. Right. He goes to another table, and they saw what happened. So they pulled the same stunt on him. And he drinks the whole 8 ounce of vodka. Again, the 190 proof. This is sixth up. He's about to collapse at this point, but he wants the other 100. Right. So he goes to the third table and does the same thing again. And he drinks another 8-ounce cup. And then he tells them, do me a favor. I can't even walk. Just carry me to the landlord, baron, noble, whatever. He gets there, he knocks on the door, and barely able to stand up, he gives him the 300 rubles, and he releases the man releases from the dungeon the Yid and his wife and his kids. Now it's almost time for Kol Nidre, and he says, take me to shul. So they take him to shul, but he's flat out. He gave up his Yom Kippur for this, to help another Yid. Right. So they lay him down, and they're starting to open the Aron HaKodesh to bring out Kol Nidre. And Rabbi Yitzchak is the Rav there. So he gets up and he sees the Sefer Torah coming out, and he starts singing Torah, Hashem Temima. And they said, that drunk guy, get him out of here, throw him out. But Rabbi Yitzchak says, no, you don't understand, because he thought it was Simchas Torah. He saw the Sefer Torah. Right. He goes, you don't understand. You and I, all of us, have to worry about tonight with Yom Kippur, because our lives are still hanging on the balance. He just flew right over, and he's at Simchas Torah already. He doesn't even need Yom Kippur. That's what it means to care about other people. He's good. He's done. He's sealed. Wow. You and I have to worry. Wow. He doesn't have to worry. He's already in Simchas Torah already.
Yeah, this reminds me of the common joke. I love the story. Thank you. It reminds me of the common joke that people say, Alef Slichas, that I want to lay down and wake up Matzah Simchas Torah. You ever heard that? So, yeah, I just love that. Very nice. I'm curious from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest thing that people are lacking for boys and girls? Like, what's the biggest mistake that a boy is making when he's looking for a shidduch, for a zivug?
Hadracha. How to date properly, what to look for in a person. Wow. You understand?
Yep.
More than ever, I see a big need for
that.
They
have no idea what they're doing.
Hadracha. What do I need
what to look for?
Right, exactly. Personality that stems with mine. Someone, a good family that I can visit once in a while. Someone who has good midos. I tell the girls, for example, there are 3 things to watch in a guy: kas, kamtzan, kaptan. Shalom
the 3 Ks. Yeah, the 3. Kamtzan, kapdan. You said, and the other was
kamtzan, kapdan, kasan.
Kasan.
Yeah.
Right.
Shalom taught me this, and this is something I teach.
I love it, by the way. I agree, because kas is definitely.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I don't have that middle. And
generous.
Kamtzan, I agree, generous. You gotta be a giver. Right. I love how you said it, because a Kamtzan means that they're not generous about life. They're not a giver. They're not in a giving energy. And Kabdan means like when they can't change, when they're so rigid, basically they call it.
Right.
So automatically, if your wife says something,
harsh person.
Yeah,
harsh.
like you're. No, this doesn't work for me. No, I'm never gonna do this. You know,
right.
Those type of personalities. I always say I work on it right now, so that when I become, I don't know, like I'm 100 years old, I'm like, Grandpa, we're going to the moon for Yom Tov. I should be like, yeah, no problem. You know, like, I don't want to be that kind of person that's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. You know, that rigidness. I love that. It's a very good concept.
I also try to explain to them that we're living in a very... times are very interesting, especially people are tested in their Yiddishkeit.
Yeah.
I say to them, and I believe this wholeheartedly, marriage is a spiritual path.
Wow. Look
for someone who's lit up, not cold.
Right.
With a fire, there's a spark of idealism.
Right. Well, clearly, I don't know if you're into these kind of concepts, but for me, every kind of shidduch that came was attracted by a certain specific energy and place that I was in my life. So that's why it's so important to know who you are before you go out there and date. I also agree that you can't really love yourself. Some people say you have to love yourself, then you can find somebody else that's going to love you. It's not really true. You actually have to find somebody else that shows you how you can be loved. So now you can love yourself as that kind of person. You know, like people always say to people, I wish you can see yourself the way I see you. That's a very true statement. So yes, of course, I can work on my self-love, but I'm not always going to know how to exactly love myself until another person comes in and tells me how lovable I am. Tells me what they're seeing. I always say nobody can see their own mechila, their own ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to probably cut this out, but I'm saying like, there's something to that. There's only a certain amount of things that you can see about yourself. And then the rest you can't really see. So that's why it's Isaac Anecdote, because you're getting a perspective that is really unseen, is really like, you're going to get a reflection of yourself. And by the way, that's where so many marriages go wrong, because they get married and they start seeing things about themselves. Wow, am I just really that bad? Am I really that kind of, that kassen or that kamsen or that kabdan? Like all these things, you start finding out stuff about yourself because she's the reflection, he's the reflection. Everything
100%.
that you're doing, they're sitting there to show you, they're holding up a mirror to your face the entire day. The good news is that if you're a nice guy, you're also going to see that. Like, I don't know how nice I am until I live with somebody in a house 24/7.
Absolutely.
And they tell me, Ellie, you're such a nice person. You're in a good mood when you wake up. You're excited about your day when you go to sleep. During the day, the midday crash, you handle it so well. The weekend, you handle it so well. The Sundays, you spend it so nicely.
But he touching on a very good point here, and that is finding a partner who is generous in compliments.
Yeah.
That's so
That
important.
too, yeah.
So important.
Because they bring out the best in us.
Yeah, no, people love that. Rick DeMille was talking about that in Torah's Avigdor last week. People holish for that. He goes, even my wife, I'm going to finish my share. When I go upstairs, I wanted to ask me, I heard I had a great share. Yeah. People like that. So if she's pressing the right buttons for Ellie,
right,
she's going to help Ellie like a rocket soar.
Right. Yeah. Right. And this is what I learned from Rabbi Manos, because I was always concerned. Like when I was dating, I was putting up an act. I used to, but then he taught me this concept, like, just be you. You want her to love you for you, or better, you want her to work, like, the only thing that matters is if you like her.
Right.
If she's appealing to you. So you be you. Don't act, don't pretend, go on a date, be real. One of the things that I do, I have this argument with my friend. We always talk about, like, if the guy should set a place to go.
Is he a single guy or married guy?
He's dating, actually.
Okay.
So
let's
but he does have good experience. Our conversation is very simple. Should the guy set up a date or not? When I usually go on a date, I have a few ideas where I want to go, but I just chill. Let's go wherever you want to go. And for him, it's very, very calculated. He knows exactly where he's going to go, what he's going to do on the date, and or certain specific ways of how he's going to test his date. That I found very interesting, because actually the girl he's dating knows about these tests and she finds it fascinating. That kind of shows that when you have somebody special dating, it's pretty cool. But I'm saying, like, it's just interesting. I feel like I'm more of a flow kind of person, rather than being.
To be honest, in speaking to thousands of people, there's no real right way. It's like you're an energy person. If that's what is Zorem, if that's what flows for you, fine. He likes it more structured.
Exactly.
Right. Fantastic. Whatever, different strokes for different folks.
Right. Thank you. That's beautiful what you said. I see my life that way. Yeah. Of course, I try to structure things in advance. Like the fact that we met was scheduled over a week ago, I think, 2 weeks ago but I'm just saying, like, so I can schedule in advance, but I also love to be a kind of last minute kind of guy. I heard this from Donald Trump too. He always keeps his schedule empty so that anything can still happen.
Right.
He can anytime go somewhere, and he says that he does that intentionally. So yeah, I am kind of a flow kind of person. But I'm very excited for regards from Rabbi Ezra Max, by the way.
Great guy.
Great guy. Regards from him. I had this conversation with him. We talk a lot, and I was telling him that the space that I am right now, the energy that I am, my dating energy is a very, very interesting energy. From one part, I don't want to get married. I don't need to get married, I feel. And I feel like it's rather a want. I feel like it went from a need to a want. Most people, especially the expression in the Yiddish world, in the Hasidic world, is darf shidduch, or ich darf shidduch. Everything is I need. And it also goes with what Rabbi Manos, his number one famous thing is, like, you're not needy, you're needed. You know what I'm saying? So the moment you need a shidduch, you need, you're putting yourself in the opposite energy completely.
Right.
Or you will attract somebody that's in that kind of energy, because shidduchim still happen for bad people, or for people that are not exactly completely
It's
work.
that you're not seen in the most positive way.
Yeah,
I know people like that as clients, and they press too hard.
right. Yeah. So I think self-awareness
Yeah.
is the most beautiful thing about a man that he can do. And Baruch Hashem, most women, most girls already have that. They're born with that Bina Yesida, you know, they have the self-awareness, and they're also a lot more in their bodies. They go by feelings, not by thoughts.
Correct.
Men are like logical and ethical, and they're stuck in their head. A woman is created so that she is in her body. They are a lot more smarter. They're a lot more caring. They will express their emotions too. They'll cry easier. They'll feel easier. They'll be open about telling you if I'm in a good mood or in a bad mood. For men, it's very difficult to break that shell. So I just feel like my energy now when it comes to dating is just it's a very interesting energy of kind of accepting myself exactly for who I am, knowing my insecurities, my problems. I was speaking this morning to my therapist. I was saying, like, I don't know if I want to live alone in a house. Like, who says I want to live alone? I don't live alone. Like, am I going to have to do my own laundry? Well, I did my own laundry.
I can't see you living alone, Ellie. Human beings are social animals, and you're very social.
Right. So
and you have too much to give to the world.
Thank you. Yeah. No, but I was saying it hypothetically. I mean, I was in dorm for many years. I wasn't home. Of course I did my own laundry and cooked for myself and shopped for myself. I still do. I shop my own clothing. I buy my own food. I make myself breakfast and lunch every day. And I took a solo trip a few months ago. Like I feel like I could be potentially alone, but it was like kind of a blockage. And you know, she asked me, so who are the people that are now caring for you in your life?
Good question.
And I started saying, okay, so look, my father takes out the garbage, and my mother makes dinner, and so on, so on, so on. So the exercise was, well, of course there is a blockage there, because getting married means that I am the gever, as you always say, right? I am the one now taking responsibility, taking care of her. When she has the flat tire, who is she calling? Me, and I have to show up there. Sure. So it's putting myself into that energy. And I ask myself, well, can I do this? And the answer is, of course I can. Of course. I just have to open up new pathways in my own brain and say that, yes, I want to be this kind of person. So it opened up for me a new door. Yes, I want to have...
You don't fear, do you, Ellie?
No.
Not at all.
Oh, well, I have a lot of fear sometimes, but I'm saying...
Do you fear the potential of sharing a life with someone, or the responsibilities? Does that seem overwhelming to you sometimes?
Yes.
Do you fear losing your freedom? Because you've gotten used to, do what I want, when I want, no one to tell me really when and if. No rules or regulations.
I don't fear it, but the way you say it, I'm actually thinking that, no, I wouldn't want somebody to take away my space. But I think that I would make to her very clear. I had this argument with my mother. I take a walk every night. I walk 3 miles.
Beautiful.
And and she's like, Ellie, when you get married...
Spider this or exercise?
Both, by the way. I walk 3 miles. I go to the gym every day.
I do the same thing to Landau Shul. Every morning. Half hour in every direction.
Very nice. Yeah. I do as about this also every night. I
Excellent.
just speak to Hashem. It's beautiful. But she told me, like, when you get married, you can't do that. You can't walk out of the house and take a walk for an hour. And I was like, well, I can do that, and I will tell her that I'm taking that. Correct. And I said also, look, I would be also open to going every second night with her on the walk. I'm okay with that. But sometimes I need my walk alone to recharge, to be a better person for her.
Right.
So no, I don't really fear it, and especially as I said, I feel like now I am working on being okay with it, being very open. But I'm saying, the reason I'm saying it is because some people might look at me like I'm a shiganer, like well, you can't live alone. The answer is, for most of us, we don't even address these kind of problems, these kind of insecurities, and then one day you find yourself living in an apartment. But you're freaking out because you had some area of you had that issue a while ago, but you never addressed it.
Yes.
So find whatever blockage it is that you have, because as I said, there is hundreds or thousands of couples right now I'm talking about this one case scenario because this is my own study. I have this thing I talk every day to one person that I never met in the past. And this is something that I discovered. Hundreds of single women got married to guys that have no way of appreciating what they do for them.
Really?
Yes. So you talk about shadichem crisis? No.
That's a problem.
This is a crisis. And by the way, I'm a guy. I'll be very happy to protect the men. I know some women out there weren't right for you, whatever. There's answers for everybody. This is not the general topic. But I'm saying this is one specific area of women that are such nice people, but they tried and tried and tried, and this guy was just cold stone. He couldn't take anything from her. One woman told me like she was preparing dinners for him every night. He would come home and he would make dinner because he needed that kind of leadership. He needed like, look, I'm making dinner, and you know,
hurtful.
Yeah, it's very hurtful. And these women like still, some of them still pray for their ex every day. Like that's how caring and loving they are and were.
Amazing.
But this guy just had no ability to appreciate and accept these things. By noticing these things, for example, I mentioned for me one insecurity that perhaps living alone can be a challenge that I'm working on to accept and understand that yes, I could live alone and be the caretaker of a home. But if every man and every woman can identify what's for them the blockage before getting married or engaged, like what is my insecurity? What did my father or my mother tell me all the years that perhaps is possibly not so true, and now I'm going to get into a relationship with a guy, with a girl, in a marriage and still live that kind of pattern. Like I knew someone, a friend of mine, that whenever I was trying to, and he worked on this, whenever I was trying to give him something or help him or just give him food, whatever kind of thing, he would always resist it. He was always like, I can do it on my own. I can take it on my own. And this
You need to learn how to accept the gift.
Exactly. And this guy
taught us all the time.
Right. So this friend is very self-aware, and he worked on it, and now that changed. Like if I were to offer him something, he would be, yeah, sure, thank you. Like, but this, you understand what I'm saying? Like everybody has these little things in their life that they're resisting and resenting and not being able to accept. And the moment that they notice these things, all you have to do is notice. And I'm not talking about here a life-changing situation. You don't have to go through a surgery to change this. This is just noticing a certain
what goes on. You make an excellent point. Something that I teach often is that if you have an emotional, psychological problem, take responsibility and fix it now. People think that by getting married, it'll just go away. So I often say this, Eli, marriage won't fix your problems. Marriage will make them worse.
Yeah.
Because it magnifies it now under a microscope since you're under the same roof.
Yeah.
So you make a very valid point. Whatever it is, and every one of us has something that we need to, Rubik's Cube needs to be fixed a little bit. We need to play with that combination. Whatever it may be, is it your selfishness? Is it, like, for example, lack of appreciation? Whatever it may be, take responsibility because you're going to have a much better marriage otherwise. By sending your problems into the future, thinking that marriage is going to make them go away is a huge mistake.
Wow.
Huge mistake.
Right.
Yeah. Marriage only makes it worse because now there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
They see the real you.
Wow. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, it's also, I feel like it's a sense of unknown. So we have to be, most people are afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
So marriage is kind of unknown. I don't know how it's going to make me feel. I don't know how I'm going to enjoy it. I don't know the ups and downs that it brings.
Well, one of the keys, again, I'm not here to flatter you, but one of the keys to a great relationship is that magic word, vulnerability.
Wow.
Most guys can't be vulnerable. It's uncomfortable for them. It eats away at their masculinity.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And vulnerability is the difference between success and failure.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing I heard when I date that they would tell me like, wow, your vulnerability is on the next level.
It's a big mile.
It is thank you. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like men are very closed off. Most men will never cry, and
right.
And it's very difficult for a woman to be with such a man. People don't say
because they're emotional and they want to be included in your life.
Exactly. So if they can break you, if a man can be emotional, the woman feels like, look, he's so open, he's so raw, he's so real, and it makes them melt towards you. You're giving them space, validation, whatever. A lot of things.
People don't realize the potential of how a wife can help you.
Exactly. But they can only help you if you
open up to them.
If you open up to them, if you're vulnerable, if you're Wow.
Let me ask you a question, Ellie. I just asked someone this question. Well, I'm trying to help, but I thought maybe you want to tackle it. How do you think your relationship with Hashem has changed over the years?
The scary part is you're the third person today that asked me.
I didn't plan it with them.
Yeah, you're the third person today that asked me how's your relationship with Hashem.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm going to take it as I said, I have no idea. I talk to him, he doesn't talk to me. But I think the fact that I got asked 3 times in one day, how's my relationship with Hashem, I think that that's a very clear message from him. I think that that's him talking. And I'm going to say this, I think it's a little bit weird, but the relationship has been very much, I feel like it's been a giving and not receiving. And that's maybe why the relationship is not so well. Because if I receive, then I put him into his position, which is to be a giver. But I feel like it's only been a one way. I've spoken to him, I daven, I learn. But I'm not always seeing what he's giving to me. So I'm not this is literally like that woman that will serve you and prepare for you and take care of you, but you're not willing to take it.
But Ellie, you opened up tonight's show and told us about all the success you're having.
Correct.
So where's that coming from? Some random computer?
So, exactly. Exactly. So...
It opened the eyes.
Yeah, so I'm doing this better album, but I'm also going to work on a system where I can notice the things that he does for me every single day and strengthen that relationship by thanking him, by allowing him to give me things. That's how I'm going to strengthen this relationship by Hashem. So yeah, that's kind of my journey with the relationship.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Wow. How are we doing in time? Wow. Okay, very good. Anything else we want to chat on?
You haven't said much about yourself. I mean,
you want to tell? Oh, for sure.
I would love to hear about you if you want to share.
Sure. Okay. How did I get into this?
Yeah.
Like I said, I trained as a doctor, and I got a lot of training and direction from Rabbi Miller over the years.
Wow.
In understanding people and their needs, and he played a critical role in pushing me to being a teacher in Yeshiva Gedolas in the morning.
Right.
Many of the boys coming home from Eretz Yisrael who came to my shiurim on Chumash, Mishnah, Gemara, and asked me questions about the girls they were dating after shul. I didn't have a clue. So I said, I better start learning. This is 25 plus years ago. And little by little, I started learning about the subject. It fascinated me. And then I found myself under numerous chuppahs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For them. And then I moved to Miami after Rabbi Miller passed away. And I taught in University of Miami for Torah Samech every week. I came in my scrubs and I taught people who knew nothing about Yiddishkeit.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's so
satisfying. Very satisfying. I prepared my shiurim in between surgeries. Yeah. I ran in there to the university campus on a Shabbos night. The door was open to people to come. So we used to have between 4 to 10 guests a week. These are college kids.
Right.
And I got more experience with it. Then came a very interesting time. I had thought that I was going to just live the rest of my life in Miami. I had my practice in the middle of the day, and I taught in a different city every night. So Monday night I taught Chumash to Bulgarian Jews. Tuesday night I taught Halacha to Persian Jews. Wednesday night I taught at the university, and Thursday night I taught Mishnayos at Beis Kiristir, Rabbi Gross.
Wow.
It was great grandson of Rabbi Shayla.
Wow.
From the Gross
you're
brothers.
Maggid Shir. That's
Yeah.
why you're a rabbi. Wow.
Yeah. And then
That's
I
so
ran
beautiful.
the Avos Sovanim for 2 shuls on Shabbos.
Wow.
Yeah, that was always my big forte.
And how many shaddichim when did you start making shaddichim?
So I'll tell you what happened. Then I, a little bit in Miami, as people met at my shiurim, but then I had to make a decision. I saw my children were not exactly fitting into that society.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very close kesher to the Tasha Rebbe.
Yeah.
I said to him, something doesn't make sense. I own a house in Brooklyn, which I want to sell. I bought a house in Miami, and 2.5 years they're not giving me permission to put a nail in the wall. Because why do you need 6 bedrooms?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to help people who are, for example, collecting for stuff because they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They came to Miami, they collected, and they gave the money back to the hotel.
Wow.
So it wasn't fair.
Right.
So anyway, nothing was moving. And he says to me, Rav Yaakov, it's over. You were sent to Miami on a mission. You had a tikkun. That was your mission to help Klal Yisrael. You taught, you gained, you did all this. It's time for you to come back to New York. That's why your house hasn't sold.
Wow.
So I came back, and I didn't go back into practice right away. I continued my work, and I used to have a shiur years ago called Wednesday Night Dating with Dr. Jack in a yeshiva called Ruach HaTorah, which is the guys from about 20 to say 25. And every Wednesday night they would get dinner, and I was creating my own shiurim, researching the secular part, from the religious part,
Wow.
and putting it together. And they'd sit back, and instead of having Gemara shiur, they would have me.
Yeah.
One night, one of my friends, Maimel Albaz, was on Torah and Netam. He's a very big Maggid Shir for kids. Came with a camera and put it up. And within 2 days, I'm getting emails from all over the world. People's relationships, and they have questions.
Yeah.
Which I do. Someone from California, someone from Hong Kong, someone from Uganda, I'm getting calls from. Nigeria, you name it. Down south, Chile, Argentina. And so I didn't have an issue attacking those questions. It seemed like Hashem, it came sort of naturally.
Yeah.
Also, along the way, I spent many years in Uman with Rav Shalom Arush. Many years. And I sort of, once Rav Miller passed away, I had an emptiness in my life. And then I was at the Kaisel, and someone gives me the Garden of Emunah. I was fascinated by this book. And ultimately, I was the first one to bring him into America.
Really?
2007. Wow. I brought him here. And I exposed him to the United States. Because
Right.
I found him to be very similar to Rav Miller. The only difference is, I'll tell you what Hasidus brought me. When I came to Uman for the first time, I saw something that was fascinating. Erev Rosh Hashanah, growing up Sephardic / Litvish,
Yeah.
you were petrified of Rosh Hashanah.
Wow.
And here I am on the bed, and they're dancing 10 minutes before. We're thinking that our lives are on the line. And I said, these people have it right. That's the way to approach Yiddishkeit. That's the way. You understand? That changed me forever.
Wow.
In my
So
whole
when did
perspective.
you start doing shaddichim? I guess once you had an audience and a following, or
Yeah, about 12 years ago.
and how many shaddichim have you made?
I tell people I made about say 30.
Wow.
But how many did I facilitate through my showroom?
Oh, exactly.
Over a couple of thousand.
100%.
Because I get emails all the time.
Wow.
Thank you, because of your.
And what? So you are a matchmaker, literally. And now you have the nachas of seeing it, and these people that have kids. What is the success, or how does one put together? What is the success of a happy couple of putting together 2 people? What do you see?
I'm going to tell you by quoting something that Manis Friedman says a lot. The biggest problem he sees today in marriage therapy is selfishness. The biggest problem he sees is selfishness. He says, when you hear couples claim, I want this and you want that.
Right. So we
look for people that are more selfless.
Right. So let's talk about me, because I am dating right now. I mean, I'm not dating someone. I'm looking to date right now. And what do you think is the right approach for me to take right now? How do I find a date, and what type of person should I date? If you want to get into it.
Okay.
Free session over here.
Okay.
For starters, what type of person do I have to be to?
You need a great listener, because you're a good big giver. You have a lot to speak. You have a lot to say. And a woman who's fascinated by you and fascinated by what you do. It's very interesting. Listen to this. I share a story that Zelig Bliskin brings down from a high school principal in Eretz Yisrael.
Oh, hold on. I think my thing got disconnected. Hold on. Okay, good. I'm going to start again with the question. I'm curious what you think for me, because I'm dating. I'm not dating actively. I'm looking to date right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious what you think, what type of person I have to be, or what type of person would be good for me in terms of who I date to potentially get married to.
Okay. So, like I was about to say, I think you need a great listener who's authentic and real.
Wow.
And someone who's genuine. There's a lot of plastic today.
Wow.
And you are an individual who has no problem exposing his inner core.
Right.
Tocho kavaro.
Is that good or bad? Or sometimes I ask myself the fact that I have all these followers, which of course I have my healthy boundaries in place. Yeah. But do you think that that's something that girls would have an issue with? Or
I don't think so, as long as you never deprive them of the attention that they need.
Right.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah.
One year when I was still a podiatrist, I had invented a line of arch supports that I wanted to sell to the retail trade like Walgreens. Yeah. And the buyer says to me, we're in the middle of conversation about the product line. Where are you in the morning? I say, I teach young men in a Jewish institute, like a yeshiva. I explained to him. He's an Irish guy from Chicago. He says, what do you teach them? So I said, Mr. McGabe, I'm going to teach you your first two words in Hebrew. Treat your wives like makom rishon, first place. Understand? Yeah. So I don't think they will have a problem with you or what you do as long as you never deviate from that makom rishon mentality.
Wow.
If she feels like she's first place, she'll let you do what you need to do.
Right.
What gives you that joy. Once your life starts to revolve too much around Ellie, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Because now she's shut out.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Right.
So what would I do if I was you? Look for an authentic, real girl. Look for idealism. It's very important. For someone who wants wonderful children. And Torah should be part of that. It's critical. This is what we are as Jews.
Right.
You know, someone who looks up to Gedolim. Someone who cares about having great children. You just need to have these discussions with them. How do you want to raise the kids? Would you do it differently than your parents? How do you feel about discipline? What yeshiva system do you want to send them to? You need to get into this stuff.
Right.
You understand? How do you feel if someone embarrassed you in public? Would you shtech them back in the restaurant?
Right.
How would you do that? Now you're getting into their kishkas. Look for midos. Physical attraction, remember, just ignites the fire, but it only lasts the match for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Midos is what's going to carry that relationship for years.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Watch this. I still am involved in my life in medicine, so I needed an attorney, and I called the New York State Medical Society, and they said to me, I said, who do you use? She says to me, a guy in Buffalo. So I call him up. His name is Matthew Feldman. He's a Fry guy, totally nothing, and he knows that I'm from and whatever. So he says to me, he says, I got to tell you a story. I had to fly on JetBlue from Buffalo to Manhattan for a hearing in the Department of Health. And it went well. Now it's time to go back to JFK, to JetBlue's terminal, and go home. Fly back to Buffalo. He goes to the terminal in JFK, and then they tell him there's a 4-hour delay. So they say to him, the lady tells him from JetBlue, why don't you go over to the TWA hotel over there and just hang out at the bar, and we'll call you when the plane is ready. He walks in there. He says, I have to tell you, Dr. Jack, I saw a sight I couldn't understand. 150 Orthodox couple on a date. What is going on? Right. He says to me. I said to him, Matthew, that's real dating.
Wow.
You know what they're doing? They're asking very clean, significant questions about
quiet environment.
How do you relate to me? Do you and I have the same hashkafa? Hashkafa comes from the word mishkafayim, glasses. I always tell people, love is not two people facing each other. Love is two people facing in the same direction. Wow. Are you and I in the same direction? 100%. I said, in your world, they waste 4 or 5 years dating, and they don't have a clue who the other person is. Here, they're getting down to tachlis. They're asking you questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? And what's your position about that? And do you have, they're checking for anger, and they, like we said, they're checking for a guy who's cheap, and they're checking for lack of flexibility, and they're looking for acts of chesed. Does the girl volunteer? Does she help around the house? Does she help the next door neighbor with the 10 kids?
Wow. That's super powerful. I agree.
Right?
Yeah. That is the method, by the way. I mean, that is wow. Wow.
I remember when I was dating, and I grew up in the Sephardic community, a lot of life was defined by money.
Right.
I didn't want that. I was lucky that I was a Talmud of Rabbi. You know what I used to do? I stuck his cassettes into the player, and when we went on dates, I wanted to see how they would react.
Right.
My wife ultimately was the one who was for me. Why? Because I said to her, I want to live a life like him.
Wow.
A life of growth.
Right.
A life where a meaningful life.
Right.
And I say, when I dive into Hashem for life, I want a meaningful life.
Right.
I want a life that I feel like I die, even when I walk in my voice in the morning, Hashem, help me use my koiches to help Klal Yisrael.
Right. And what do you think is a shtadlus for a person, for a woman, for a girl,
Yeah.
for a guy listening to this? What does a shtadlus for them mean? Does it mean that they...
It means different things for different people. Like, for example, if you're very frum, so you have 2 or 3 shadchanim you talk to.
Right.
Plus, you have your 30-second elevator pitch when people see you at Simchas or whatever. Here's what I am. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm up to, and a brief discussion. I'm kind, considerate, outgoing. I'm quiet. Whatever it is.
Do you think that part of the shtadlus is also that they should be a certain person or a certain type or level up to a certain image?
Not image, but always growing your midos.
Right.
Yeah.
Work on yourself.
Work on yourself. And keep yourself busy doing good things. Work at your job, but then do a little volunteer work. Help the klal. Get chusim for yourself. Once you hit a certain, Rabbi Shlomo used to say to us, once you hit a certain amount of tefillah, a certain work on your personality and character, bam, it happens.
Right. I also know you do, very interestingly, you do marriage counseling.
I do.
So what is the number one biggest problem that you see couples are having right now? And second question is, what do you think is the number one tip for a couple to do, to implement so they don't have problems?
I think one of the biggest problems we have is communication.
Wow.
Yeah. Or lack of. Or we're chasing dreams and we're chasing the American dream. And we want this and we want that. And we don't realize how it's so subtle, how the car can start deviating off the lane until it's very far.
Right.
Yeah.
I that's fascinating that you say this, because my own concept of marriage, when people ask me what are you looking for, whatever, I always say the most important thing is communication.
Yeah.
Communicate from the first date. Communicate everything. But do you feel that in the relationship they're basically weighing each other down because
They're
there's no
taking each other for
communication, so-
granted. They're not giving enough compliments. They're forgetting each other.
Even though that they really loved each other and they really
but
connect and they're meant for each other.
Marriage
but
is a
still,
plant. If it's not watered, it dies.
but why? Wouldn't it be natural?
No.
The plant is
because
natural. Like, wouldn't it be
No,
natural
you
that
have
they
to-
would love
you have
to nourish it?
invest.
If I really love my wife, what's there to nurture? Like, I'm just coming home every day and I love you and I want to take care of you. I like you. I love how you look. I love what you.
You're saying that now. But
So
now,
what happens?
what happens when you're into a marriage 5, 10, 15 years?
You tell me. What
I
happens?
tell you, familiarity breeds contempt. I see you all the time. You're not as special to me anymore.
So how do we keep this fire going?
That's very important. There's what's called 777. Every 7 days, go on a date.
Okay.
Every 7 weeks, 1 day off together. Every 7 months, 3-day vacation.
Nice. I like it. Is your thing?
I came up with it. Yeah.
Love it. Very, very nice and true.
Interaction
Right.
with each other.
Right. Right. But some people maybe do lose it, perhaps. You have to go? You're good?
Probably. I was supposed to. I was supposed to talk to somebody in Miami.
No, another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
because I was speaking most of the time. I need this
Oh
to
no!
be minimum
I'm
of
happy
50,
to share.
50.
I'm happy
Thank
to
you.
share.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now I have another few questions because I'm going to use this for myself. I'm actively dating. What does define a good, happy marriage? Is that 777, or what does define a good marriage? I think like 50% of people do not have a good marriage. They're just living and surviving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you can see it. If you look around, you'll see the way they talk about each other does not look in any way like they're happy. So
That's
it's
a
kind of
problem.
scary to consider that.
The Edelkeit starts to be diminished. That's a problem. That's a problem. Well, we live in Baruch Hashem, in a very affluent time, but more stressful than ever in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
People have added a lot of stresses to their life because of I need to do this, I gotta get this, I want to do this, I want to do that. They add more things that they want out of life.
Right.
And that sort of like tests the system.
Right.
And
the expectations got
a lot of expectations.
Right.
And we're not also sheltered anymore.
Right.
We're not sheltered. Look at the Hasidic world and look how it's being challenged.
Right. Yeah, I also know you talk about scenarios where you do not encourage, but you do say that it doesn't work anymore. Like, because people call you, you're the last stop. Well, they'll call you and they say this and this and this, and you'll say, yeah, it's not going to work. Like you said one example with the flat tire. You like, the guy came, he was making her feel guilty for having the flat tire, and you're like, get out of that marriage. Like, if he can't be the man when you have a struggle,
right,
then it's never going to work. And I was thinking to myself, what do you mean? Maybe that man had a bad day today, but then I was thinking, no, you're right. Like,
it's diagnostic of a big evil.
Yeah, exactly. It just shows exactly. So, how do you know to call the shot and say, guys, this is not working out?
When you see that enough effort was made and the other party is not taking taking that next step to changing.
Right.
Some people are just averse to change. I'll give you an example. I had a couple here last year with 2 children, and she's 26 and he's 27. And he continues to neglect her. On Shabbos, he's on TikTok till a minute before Lichtbenching.
Yeah.
And he does this every Friday. And on Shabbos, he just goes and he hangs out in the park with his friends, leaves her with the 2 children. And she said to me, I'm done. And I said to her, you're 26 with 2 kids. You know how difficult it's going to be to find you a shidduch?
Yeah.
Just give him another chance. I'll rehabilitate him. No, I am done. I'm out. I could not convince her otherwise. And she was so burnt by the lack of attention.
Did he want to give it a chance? Did he want to change?
She didn't trust him anymore because he continuously disappointed her.
Yeah. Right.
He burnt his bridges.
Wow.
Yeah. He burnt his bridges.
That's how the story ended?
Yeah. A few months later, he wanted a divorce.
Wow.
She was ready to become a single woman, a divorced mother for 2 kids. It's a problem.
It's a problem on her end?
It's a problem for both of them because it's made. But she'd rather get out of it. I'm also seeing a lot of infidelity, a lot of cheating.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of divorced people coming in here with that issue. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to the self-worth that we discussed.
Yeah.
To the vision, the image of the deeper understanding. Like, you can never be satisfied if you don't take care of yourself. You can never be satisfied if you don't have the direction of why am I married. And that's why all the people calling me a nebuch for being 26 and not married. No. I'm very, very lucky. I want to have all this information before I get married. I want to know everything. I want to know about the cheating. I want to know about the people that are unhappy, about the divorce rate, about the single parents and the struggling parents and all these things, so that I can at least know what I'm against that, yes. So, wow. Yeah. Rabbi Jack, thank you so much.
I was honored
to
share and to learn.
This is going to be amazing. It's going to go viral. I'm going to put it onto my platform.
Hashem.
And I have tens of thousands of listeners. Like, unexpected. I did not, especially with the podcast, and I always say this, like, I had the podcast, I felt like 200-300 people will listen to it, but it just, the amount, it goes so viral, and people download it and they send it, and then even in the yeshivas on Sansa clips, they just love listening to new, to the concepts that the people talk. They're hungry for information, because what we just spoke about, nobody talks about it. Like you said, the education, nobody talks about it. Nobody says this in Cheder or in yeshiva, or there's no public course out there. Of course, you can go to coaches. There's many coaches out there, but where do you get this information for free? Rarely.
No.
You know? So,
No. I don't mind hitting new frontiers.
wow.
In order, people say to me about me, they said, you're tough, but you're straight.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I love your style.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of your speeches.
Yeah.
And you're very, and you say a story with geschmack. It's a machai to listen. So yeah, guys, I would encourage you to check out the Rabbi Dr. Jake, and you can find a lot of his videos on YouTube. You can find
Our website, drjackdating.com.
Jack,
Or call me. Call me. I'll give them my number, right?
Yeah.
If you have any need for dating coaching, or you want to get matched up, or shulchanis, or marriage, 305-206-1916. Baruch Hashem, Ellie and I sitting in this beautiful office that my wife designed. You can come and stop in. We'd be happy to host you.
Amazing.
Is there anything we can do for you?
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you everybody for listening. Please remember to like and subscribe. And please, if you can, share this podcast and leave a comment. That really helps me out. Thank you so much. All right.
Really? It was great.
Thank you.
Hatzlacha.
You're awesome. Thank you.